Now looking at practice problems 3 and 4, we've got a couple equations here that we need to graph. So problem 3, the first thing is asking me what is the slope of this line. Now I remember that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So I see that the slope of this line is actually going to be -2. So I know that this is going to point down, and I'm going to go ahead and just put a little down arrow right there just so I know that that slope's going to be negative, just to hopefully catch a mistake if I happen to make one. So the slope of this line is -2. Now the y-intercept of this line is going to be that constant at the end, and that constant is -4, so we have -4 is our y-intercept. So now let's go ahead and go through those steps to graphing that line. The first step to graphing a line is for us to plot our y-intercept. So the y-intercept is -4, so on my y-axis here, I'm going to go down to -4, and I'm going to put my point. And now the second thing that I need to do is I need to take my slope. My slope was -2, and I need to convert that into rules. So I know that slope is equal to rise over run. But on this one, I don't have a fraction. I just have -2. So I need to convert that to a fraction. And I'm going to convert that to a fraction by just putting it over 1. -2 divided by 1. So that means that -2 is my rise, and my run is +1. Now when I have a rise of a negative number, instead of going up, I'm going to go down. All the negative numbers are down towards the bottom of this graph. So instead of counting up, I'm going to count down 2 units. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, and then to the right 1. And that's where I'm going to find my second point. Now on our last example, I know that we found all of those perfect points by doing the slope over and over again. Down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. But really, when we have a linear equation, meaning that we have no exponent on our x value, that means that we can just find 2 points and then we're done. So we can go ahead and just connect those 2 points, and that line is going to continue on all the way off the graph over and over again with an arrow on both ends. So we now graphed our line, y equals -2x minus 4. So let's go ahead and take a look at problem 4. We'll go through this one together as well. What's the slope of this line? So my equation is y equals 2/5 x plus 1. So I'm going to write my slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. My m value is my slope, so I can see here that this equation has a slope of 2/5. So 2 over 5 is equal to my slope, and that's a positive slope. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a positive arrow here to tell me that that's going to point up in some direction. And then the y-intercept is my constant, so at the end I've got a +1, so my y-intercept I'm going to write as +1. So we found our slope and our y-intercept. Now it's time to move into graphing. So we're going to go ahead and start out. Our first step is we're going to plot our y-intercept. The y-intercept here is +1, so I'm going to go to my y-axis. I'm going to find +1, and that's where I'm going to put my point. So I found my first point. Now I need to use my slope to find the other points. So my slope was 2 over 5, and that is equal to rise over run. So that means that my rise is 2, so I'm going to start with my y-intercept and go up 2, 1, 2, and then my run is 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to find my second point right there. Now, again, once I have 2 points, that's all I need in order to graph a straight line. So since this is a linear equation, I can just connect those points now and make sure that that just goes on in both directions forever. So now we've got our line y equals 2/5 x plus 1. I can see that my line is pointing up, so I went the correct direction. I can see on problem 3 that my line went down, so I know I'm going the right direction.